Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 248 of the High Sensitivity Podcast, and thank you for listening. If it's your first time here, we talk about video game and movie news, those we watched or played over the week. My name is Barry, along with my co host, as we make it a pair this time.
Oh yeah, my name is Craig. Uh, Playing the role of Craig's, I guess. I don't know. I don't.
Representative of Craig's for the
Yes,
podcast. Yep.
Craig Nation, stand up.
All the Craig fans, you have your Craigs. Your Craigs are here. Barry's always here, so we get your Craigs and your Barrys. It's like nothing's changed.
It's like nothing's changed at all. No.
Addressing the elephant in the room, we do have one less Craig. He's taking the day
Mm.
off. We're letting him relax. It's his wife's birthday. Happy birthday to Craig's wife.
Yeah, happy
Hopefully
birthday.
hopefully she's having a fun day, and hopefully Craig surprised her with something, something fun for them to do. So
Right.
that'll be fun. I'll get a sit rep on that. We'll find out whether or not.
Yeah, we'll get somebody in the field to go
Yeah.
to go take a
Somebody
look.
yeah, somebody will make sure that Craig's wife had a good birthday. So we hope she has a good one too. What has a good birthday is the news. I should also say Happy Easter, though.
Happy Easter. Yeah.
Happy Easter to everyone. Those who celebrate, we don't take days off on the podcast.
Mm-mm.
We do what we got to do, and we record on Easter.
We do.
No, I can. No, I'm not saying that. No, I can't. I can't. Nope. It's
All right.
all right. So let's get into the news then. Happy Easter, everyone. So we have news. This is kind of a little bit of a blip and blap all over the place, if I can describe it in a word.
Okay.
Let's talk about the leading news, as it has been for the last 3 weeks. We got the Switch again.
Yes.
The Switch 2 Mario Direct came out. Not what I expected. About a 20-minute thing, like commercial, really,
Mm-hmm.
and talked about what was in the game. Talked about there's a battle mode, a knockout mode, a Grand Prix mode, how to get new characters in their costumes. That was about it. They kind of said that they would justify the $80 price tag in this direct. Do you feel like they did, Craig?
I don't think they did. As far as I'm concerned, besides better looking visuals and probably a little bit smoother gameplay, the fact that the open world nature that they brought in is the only insane change that entices me. So I was hoping that this direct would have, I mean, I don't want them to transport me into the game like this is Jumanji or something, but like give us something. The price tag across a bunch of different parts of this launch and pre-order are what's on gamers' minds. So they kind of needed to step up to the plate to like show us something. I wasn't impressed. I don't know, were you?
No, not really. What I will say is I can see why Nintendo tried to charge 80 for this, or is trying. This is more than what we usually get in a Mario Kart that is 60. You get all the courses, there's a battle mode, there's a multiplayer mode, and that's kind of it. The big thing that they're trying to do is the knockout, which apparently is their big selling point this time around. And like, I can see in their head why they went, oh, this is open world. We've added knockout mode. You still get all the modes that you want. We could absolutely charge 80 for this. But, to much of fans' dismay, and much for the reason of the direct, they just they disabled chat replay because all it was lower, drop the price, and all of that junk. So that there is no escaping the $80 price tag and how outraged it has made the fans. Question is, and we have yet to see, will people buy it? Like, that's going to be the thing. Like, people are going to buy it. That is
Right.
the fact, I guess, of it all, really. But we need to see. We just
Yeah,
have to.
it's just have to see. And like, I don't know, Nintendo must know in the back of their mind there's certain things that fans are going to buy, and I don't know if they're worried about the sale prices, especially with what is launching with the Switch 2. Like this is the like the centerpiece, or I don't know what you want to call it, but this is like the power behind their launch titles. So they're going to release it. They know that a certain amount of people are going to buy it, and I don't know. I guess we'll we'll just have to see how it does when everything comes out. So I'm buying it, but I'm aiming for the bundle so that I don't have to spend the $80 price tag whenever the
Yeah, the one thing that I will say that is kind of the scummy thing, I guess, of it, and we'll see how it plays out. But in fine print, in below it, it does say that they're only making this bundle until fall of 2025. So it's one of those things where unless like the next 2 weeks later you're coming out with a bundle with Mario Kart and some kind of game case or free micro SD express card, which now you have to have in order to expand the storage, I just feel like that's kind of a scummy thing to do considering like that bundle is what people are most likely going to get. Like there are very few people that do the Nintendo lifestyle that aren't going to get the bundle. So to only produce it until fall of 2025 and not even get to like the holiday season, kind of feel like that's a bad look on their part. But maybe they release a bundle. I will not judge them until they're proven guilty of not releasing, the bundle during the holiday season. We'll have to
right.
see.
We'll have to see.
On top of that, we did get some more release news and price adjustments. So, Star Wars Outlaws 2 DLC is coming out May 15th. They also announced that the Switch 2 version of Star Wars Outlaws is coming September 4th. Another game to look forward to. We did get confirmed that the price for the Switch is going to stay at the same price, and it will be available from retailers starting April 24th, the day after this
Mhm.
podcast airs. So
Right.
if you're an informed gamer, you probably already know, but if you didn't know, now you've heard it from us.
Yes.
Retailers will start doing it. They retailers had systems in place already. I don't know what's going to change with all this. Best Buy, you had to sign up for emails. GameStop, I know, was emails.
Right.
Nintendo, still the direct stuff, but they haven't said whether or not or when they're sending out invitations. So I'm not sure how that's all going to go. But it's nice to see the same price. But what we did get a rise is in all the accessories.
Yeah.
So we are getting like $5 price increases on most items, like a $1 increase to the Nintendo Joy-Con straps.
Right.
But like for some notable things, the Joy-Cons, they're now $90 controllers. Um
I know.
I know kind of people will be like, well, it is two controllers, but I don't know, that's a stretch. You have like the charging dock now, or the charging thing now is going to be I think 45 or $50. The Pro controller
Yeah.
now gets up toward I think 80 to 85.
Mhm.
The Switch 2 dock is now $120.
It's
Steep
a it's
price.
it's
It's
a
a
steep
s-
price.
it's a steep price to pay, and I don't know how much, especially with the tariff pause that went on with the United States. I don't know how much of this like the I don't know whether or not Nintendo has agreed to sell this as a loss. It kind of feels like it is,
It does.
considering now you have to get Nintendo products at a higher price. But unfortunately, that's kind of the case with everyone. As I'll roll right into the next story, is Sony is increasing their price
Yes,
points
they
for
are.
PlayStation Plus in Canada and their systems in New Zealand, Australia, and Europe. Uh, I hate to not have Craig here because it is a big topic and we'll talk about it next week. But
Yeah.
as we go on here, gaming seems to not be the regular man's hobby anymore. Gaming is kind of an expensive hobby when you think about it,
Yeah.
but it's a much more controllable, expensive hobby, depending on how much you want to spend every month on a
Right.
video game on a week or how much of a budget you have. But the most of the PlayStations in those affected regions are getting a $50 price hike, and then on but to tail it back, apparently they are making the physical discs drive
Mhm.
cheaper. So there's a lot of hoops to jump through, but if you are already in the gaming and like I can't tell you to go and get a
I know.
PS5, like an Xbox maybe. I don't think Xboxes have raised their prices, but like a PlayStation, a Switch 2 really, like it is not cheap. to afford this stuff anymore. And in a world, and again, this is where I'll get your opinion on this too, and Craig when he comes back next week. But it's in a world where everything is going up in price, our dollar takes us less farther than it did during, for example, COVID times when it was 5, 6, 7 years ago at this point. But everybody's kind of getting stretched out for money, and raising your prices probably isn't the best way to go if you're at least trying to make money. Um, our dollar now has to be more conscious than it ever has before, and I'll let you
Right.
take the floor now, Craig.
No, no, I was always under the impression that because of the back and forth with tariffs, that businesses are actually not sure whether to make the move or not to raise prices because of how, like, they tend to wait. But I'm not a business major or anything like that. But in terms of the gaming atmosphere, you're right. I can't recommend this as a hobby right now to like a new person, and I feel bad for anybody out there where gaming is one of two, one of three, one of four hobbies. It like you can't afford for it to be that way. It looks like going forward. Like for us on this podcast, it's like our primary hobby. You know, like we all have significant others. We all, we all have jobs, that type of stuff. But when it comes to a most used time doing a hobby, it tends to be video games for the three of us. So
Mhm.
we'll bob and weave. We'll use Game Pass more for free games, or figure out ways, I don't know, or just buy two or three less games a year. But I feel bad for the casual people. And I also wonder how that has an effect on the gaming business, because the diehard gamers who will buy games all year do put food on the table. But what about the casual people, or the ones that play 5 to 6 a year, the mother or father of three who can only afford time wise to pay or to play 60-hour games a year. That's where I think it becomes interesting in how this effect is going forward. And I don't know, regarding the Switch, I'm happy they kept the price the way they were. I understand why they raised the accessories as a result. You got to put that somewhere. We just got to navigate it. Maybe you don't get the Pro controller and, utilize the Joy Cons, or I don't know. I know we're all thinking of ways of, or probably at least trying to think of ways of how we're going to save money in a time like this. So it's the world we live in. But to your point, it's hard to recommend gaming if you had somebody in your life who they're like, I'm looking for a new hobby, and you're like, I think this would be a great idea. It's hard to sell. It's really really hard to sell. So we'll see what the coming months lead. We'll see things like, what's GTA going to cost. We'll see things like, do some developers push their game back because of something that's happening in, let's say, September, or something that's happening in December of this year that makes things more uncertain. I don't know. It's a weird time to be a gamer. I mean, it's a weird time to be a lot of different things. Let me not take away from that fact. But we are a gaming podcast, and movies and television as well. So as far as our hobby, it is a weird time to have this hobby.
Yeah, and like speaking of movies, we talk about movie news and things like that. Like Minecraft movie is doing fantastically well.
Yeah.
Um, a lot of people are saying it's going to get a sequel,
Right.
and it's funny reading this stuff and thinking about the situation we're in, where like cheaper hobbies are now going to become something that needs to become more of a thing. Where going to the movies is a little bit cheaper than gaming, let's per se. But isn't it funny how like all of the kids movies are the ones that are making the money that needs to be made
Mm-hmm.
when because it I don't know when the movie theater scene shifted to the point where let's make more movies for adults, but it's always been the movies for kids that have always been making the money. The Disney movies in the 90s,
Right.
we had the Star Wars films in the early 2000s. We like movies for kids are what makes money. And
Right.
then you see all of these movie theaters going, "Oh, we don't make, enough money anymore. Things aren't happening." Well, people aren't making enough kids movies, I guess in a way. Like people
Right.
are showing up for a Minecraft movie, and while a lot of people do say it's fun to watch, critically it's not getting the rave reviews that, Dune 2 is getting, for example.
Right.
Um but people look at it, and we had a similar success with Sonic the Hedgehog 3. and the Super Mario Brothers movie and all of these other, really good kids movies. Parents, if it's a good kids movie, a parent is taking their kid to it, whether it's for 3 hours for them to just like relax, or or
Right.
just get the kid to focus on something else other than like them and destroy, playing with them, destroying their houses, drawing, coloring
Yeah.
on walls and things like that. But
It's
it doesn't surprise me it made money, but
yeah.
I just thought of like what a strange dichotomy shift we made in the 2015 to 2020, 2023, where we're all like, well, movies don't make money anymore, and well, you're making movies for adults, not for
No.
kids anymore.
No, you got a good point there, and it's simple mathematics, man. Like if the movie is for adults only, the adults purposefully leave their kids in the care of somebody else so that they can watch the movie together. Yeah, you lessen that, but if the kid wants to go to the movie, if one kid wants to go to the movie, let's say that they have a brother and a sister as well, so 3 kids total, one child wants to go to the movie, it's a good chance all 5 of them, mother and
Have
father
to go,
included,
yeah.
are gonna go. So it just adds to the ticket value, the ticket, amount. So if you find and can successfully make for that particular audience, you end up getting more people. It's you bring up a great point. Minecraft should, by critic standards, not perform this well,
Hmm.
especially because it's openly spoken about with how not good it is, or at least not up to like a high critic standard, a
Yeah,
high
yeah,
score standard. So you know, make more movies for kids out there. You
yeah,
know.
exactly. And then some quick ones before I let you take over for the news. We did have like a Star Wars con going on. We have
Mm,
a Star Wars Starfighter with Ryan Gosling is going to be a movie. We did get some leaks for other ones. The Star Wars, video game wise, Star Wars strategy turn based game called Star Wars Company Zero is going to be released. I love turn-based games. I think this could be
yeah.
very fun. I just I hope, because we're going in a turn-based direction, what has to carry you is the storyline.
Oh
Like the
heck yeah.
story has to be engaging enough for you to want to go through the turn-based battling there. It seems like the Zero Company, like there's a Jedi, there's a bounty hunter, Mandalorian, so to speak, kind of like your thief rogue sort of person in the
Hmm.
party as well. So you have like different dichotomies that are going to be mashed together here. Let's just hope the story sticks for that type of game.
No, yeah. Is it like a tactics kind of game, or is it just turn based?
It looks like it's a Fire Emblem type game, or I should
Okay.
say, like, if I should, because Fire Emblem is so grid based, I should probably scale that back and do more of like the like the persona of
Mario versus
tactics.
Mario and
Mario versus,
Rabbids
yeah, Mario
and
versus
Rabbids and
Rabbids.
and
Yeah,
Persona Tactica. Okay.
yeah, that type. We then have some fun Xbox news, as we did get Elder Scrolls Oblivion remaster was screenshots have been leaked, and there are strong rumors suggesting it's going to be shadow dropped sometime this week, if not already.
Yeah, that's pretty
So
exciting.
the images look good. I never played Elder Scrolls Oblivion. That it may be a fun way to get into it for me, especially if it's a remaster and it's getting shadow dropped. You had uh what was the game they shadow dropped the other year? Hi-Fi
Hi-Fi
Rush.
Rush.
Yeah. Shadow dropped that. It was a big hit. This is a pretty guaranteed hit. Like, people have been wanting a remaster of Elder Scrolls Oblivion for quite some time.
Yeah. It's a lot of people's favorite game in the series. I am with you too. I haven't played that one. I started on Skyrim like a lot of people, so I'd love to dive back and see what really helped propel the series.
Yeah. We have Doom Dark Ages limited edition. We've got a console, got a controller, and then a limited edition Elite controller as well. So if you're looking for like different Xbox Series X, or a big Doom fan, you can get a controller, an Elite controller themed Doom Dark Ages. The IGN First, I know, did a little bit of Doom Dark Ages, I think of 2 months ago, maybe 3 months at this point. I am super excited for that game. The
Yeah.
the more I see of like the IGN first, because they got to do Doom Dark Ages. Have you seen any of the Outer Worlds 2?
You mean the
Outer Wi
trailers? Oh,
or
Outer
no, Outer
wait,
Wilds? Is that what it is? No, it's Outer Worlds. It's the
Outer
out. It,
World.
yeah,
Wait,
you
hold on.
just
I'm
double
getting the
check here.
I get them confused.
Same here. I think it's the Outer Worlds 2. Yeah, it's the Outer Worlds too. Yeah.
Outer Worlds.
IGN first is also getting to set up a lot of stuff for them, and
Okay.
it looks like a really fun RPG. I did not get into Outer Worlds 1 really at
I didn't
all.
either.
But from what I've been seeing of 2, I think I'm going to try it. I think I want to try and get into 2. I probably should just play 1, but
Outer Worlds 1 has always been that game that I have skipped over in, like, the "what am I gonna play" moment,
mhm.
when they've had discounts or when I've seen it available, and I kinda seeing the previews for 2 and what they have, coming for the second one made me kinda upset that I didn't really get into it, so I think I'm interested too, as well, so
And lastly, game of the year 2 years ago, Baldur's Gate 3 has finally gotten its final patch other for like added class stuff wise. They did mention they're going to continue patching the game for like security updates, quality of life updates as well. But they did release a fun animation with the crew and all their original voice cast. I think it's fun as much as I tried to get into Baldur's Gate 3 and I really, that'll be one of my gaming hiccups probably for a long time will be the fact that I never really finished that game, but like the stuff that I played was so much fun. So I can absolutely see why it got game of the year and why people love that so much. And I know a lot of people are probably pretty sad that it's getting its last content update.
Right.
But never charge DLC money. The game released as a complete product. What Larian Studios has done with Baldur's Gate 3 is something to be commended on when it
It
comes
is.
to like gaming as a state right now. And good on Baldur's Gate 3. I can't compliment them enough for how they've come out, talked about the game, released the game, and done pretty much everything by the book. And not using predatory ways to get people to buy money. People would have bought Shadowheart or Karlach skins or extra things. They could have sold stuff as DLC. They just didn't. They just
Right.
added content. They knew what they had was a good game and a finished product. And um, even people who aren't into Baldur's Gate or like that type of like D&D or Dungeons and Dragons, in case you don't know what D&D means, like type of gameplay style.
Yeah.
Baldur's Gate 3 is just a fun and excellent way to get into it. And I can't recommend it enough to people. So, you could probably eventually get it on sale if if you're keep your keen eye out for a sale for that game. But sad to see a final content patch.
Yeah, it's quite a phenomenon, well deserving of the year at one game of the year, and like you said, they continue to show the formula that makes gamers dedicated to your studio and to what you
Yep.
produce. Like I remember because I think it's so funny that even years after you still get Baldur's 3 news just in general because it was just such a popular game and had such an impact. But every time anybody that studio was interviewed, they kept talking about the gamer experience. Like they were very much behind that. So
Mhm.
sad to see it, but all good things do come to an end, I guess, you know?
And they want to work on their next thing probably. So
Of
hopefully
course.
that's well into development now, and hopefully it's something fun for the developers to get to challenge themselves in new ways, or a Baldur's Gate 4 if that's what they really want to do.
Right.
So
I'm sure none of us would complain about a Baldur's Gate 4.
exactly. But that finally, that's all I had for news.
Yeah.
Did you have anything else you wanted to add?
Yeah, I had a couple of additional ones. There was a recent study that came out it's Japan's SMBC Consumer Finance, which they do like an annual report on their citizens' like spending habits, things like that. There's a lot of debate surrounding the addictive nature of gotcha games
I saw
because
this story.
yeah,
I just put it in.
I saw it and I saved it because I was like I got to talk to Barry about this because like we play gotcha games 19% of 20-year-olds in Japan are overspending on microtransactions and gotcha games. 23% have a regret of the money that they spent in gotcha games. And people are going as far as to not being able to pay for living expenses and food and stuff like that in lieu of microtransactions. So it's really funny you were talking about Larian Studios not doing anything predatory, and there's such an underlying predatory feeling that people have with gotcha games because it's some people call it legal gambling, which I see the argument there. I see the argument for and against. Some people call it every name under the sun. But as somebody who literally had to tell himself to stop playing Zenless Zone Zero because I wanted to play other games, and for somebody who has put $10 because he just really wanted that character, I don't consider myself having a spending problem with gotcha games. But I read this article and I thought of I think 2 or 3 times I put $10 in just because I wanted to see if I could get that character. That's only available for a 3 week span, and I know won't be available for another year. So I don't know. What did you think when you saw that?
It's one of those things where I had to reflect on my own. Like, I never got get that much into gotcha games. For me, it all started with Fire Emblem Heroes, and
Uh,
it was like Nintendo's big money maker for gotcha. And while I did put some money into that, no more than $100 over the 7 year lifespan. I think that game's been probably longer, if I'm being honest. It I never regretted spending money on that, but like certain things, certain games where it's like, yeah, I put money into Zenless Zone Zero in an attempt to get a cool character, and maybe that would carry me into the game. It really didn't. Like, as much as I think Zenless Zone Zero's like art style is awesome and its characters are fun and its combat's fun, there's just so many other games that I gotta play. And there's the Fate Grand Order, another anime gotcha game, and one of the most popular gotcha games to this date still is still something where it's like you put money into it and it's like it like I definitely can feel some regret toward it and things like that, but I never spent thousands of dollars like people do.
yeah,
Um,
right,
you remember the loot boxes when they came
mm,
in Overwatch, and people were trying to get the cool loot boxes that you can get on there and spend real money on.
right,
Uh, I completely get like there has to be it's kind of like the mind over matter. Like
right,
you got like if you're overspending on this stuff, you have to have some sort of self control. And like if it is a game where you spend $1,000 in, but it is your game, you spend thousands of hours into it, and you are able to pay your bills, pay your food, and do all of that type of stuff, then you do you. I got no problem with that because you are not hurting anybody else. Um,
right,
and you are the decider of your own money. But the
right,
moment you start not being able to pay bills and things like that, that's where like that's gambling stuff. That's people who
right.
gamble that run into those issues. So it it makes me like worry about what the future holds for like things like the gotcha systems and how it's related to gambling. But you have to have some sort of self control. Someone's got to
You do,
yeah, like someone's got to talk to you. Someone's got to do something. And I feel like a lot of these people who have these issues probably don't have anyone to talk to about it. So
right,
they just kind of tend to go into the hole deeper and deeper and deeper. Kind of like being a whale in an ocean, just going deeper and deeper into the ocean there
yeah.
with all the money you spend for it. But
With every vice comes overindulgence. That's just
yeah,
what it is.
yeah,
It's what it is. But I know that what people are generally upset about is the accessibility of gotcha games to the general public and maybe to some people who don't naturally have that self-control, and that's where we go into kids playing gotcha games, that type of thing. And I don't know, it could be it's definitely can be an 8-hour debate depending on who you talk to as to where there should there be limitations or whatever. But I found that staggering because as much as I love video games, it has never affected whether I ate or not.
yeah,
You know, hands down. I've always made eating the decision over video games, living with a roof over my
Yeah.
head and it not raining on me while I'm sleeping or something. Always that decision first. So, I don't know, I found that interesting. Did you hear that 2K accidentally revealed the Mafia Old Country release date?
Yeah.
Not a long story, but they released it. I love that we still say Twitter, but they released a post on Twitter that accidentally had the release date at the bottom, and I think the post was regarding some type of publicity or something that was of where it was going to be shown, but like at the bottom, people were noticing that that date, which is August 8th, by the way,
Yep.
is is going to be. I don't know if it was accidentally released. I don't know if it was even a purposeful thing because sometimes there are those methods. What I wanted to also touch on, doesn't have to be long, is that if you're Mafia Old Country, do you think August 8th is enough time to play your game before Grand Theft Auto comes out? Like it's like you could definitely, I don't know.
Well, like at this point, like all anybody can do is wait, and because I feel like the later we get in to the spring and summer, this game probably like GTA probably isn't releasing until holiday at this point.
Right.
So I think a lot of game developers like they're kind of learning like take for example the Switch already at this point. The Switch needed about a two month, a month and a half span to apparently have all these systems come in and have enough for people. We'll see if they do that in the end or not. But with GTA, like you'd already have to have a couple million copies if you were going to shadow drop this, for example, or only
Right.
give people 2 months to pre-order it and then go for it. It would be difficult to do, but 2 months at this point already puts us at the end of July, at the end of June into July,
Right.
and I just don't think that's something they're going to do. Like the people who work for Rockstar and the spokespeople have already said like, "Oh, we're just hanging on the moment where we they don't feel the publicity for themselves does it themselves for the lack of communication when it
Right.
comes to the game." I just don't. I could see it coming out this year. I don't see it coming out until November, October sort of deal, and which is why we're getting all these releases earlier.
Right. And I know that we have at least an Xbox showcase coming that was announced like in June. Like
Mhm.
I'm just trying to think of how many games are probably going to have that launch in July, August, and September to hopefully dodge the bullet. So, um, but in any case, I'm excited for Old Country. I love the depiction of the Italian culture in movies, television, and video games,
Yeah.
or just in general the depiction. Like I was talking about season 2 of White Lotus and how how they really kind of captured a lot of awesomeness that Italy shows in terms of their culture, their art and everything like that. So I'm excited to see how this game takes the mafia formula and takes it away from what seems like a major city and puts it in the countryside. So, but uh Harry Potter's television show has 6 confirmed cast members now. Uh I forgot about the Harry Potter television show, to be honest with you. I forgot that that was even coming out, but I got re-excited. So, who they currently have, well, they have John Lithgow, and he's going to be playing Albus Dumbledore. And then we also have Nick Frost from Shaun of the Dead is going to be playing Hagrid, and Papa Asidu, who's in Black Mirror, he's going to be playing Severus Snape. And then we have Janet McTeer, who's going to play McGonagall, Luke Talon, who's going to be playing Quirrell, and Paul Whitehouse, who's going to be playing Filch, Argus Filch. It's kind of cool to see some of these adult castings and like who to expect, and it kind of got me reinvigorated. Would you watch the Harry Potter television show? Would you be
I,
excited for that?
I'm interested in it. I kind of just want to see what they end up doing with it and the differences between what we have now in the, what is it, 8 movies or 9 movies now or whatever we have in Harry Potter movie
Mm,
land here,
right,
compared to what the TV series can do. You
right,
know, I feel like this series is going to get so much hate for the fact that people are going to be like, why are we doing this kind of deal? I don't know. For me, why not? Like, it has been far enough removed where you have a generation of kids that have never, don't know Harry Potter,
right.
unless it's been kind of carried on from their mothers and fathers and things like that. So, uh, I see the opportunity to do it. I'm gonna give it a shot, but I'm not gonna hate on it or give it too much praise. I'm just kind of indifferent. It's funny because my mother, who's a huge Harry Potter person,
Mm,
she does not see the reason to do it because she sees those movies as a masterpiece. Like,
right.
those are the amount of time she's watched those Harry Potter movies is one, insane, but two, like, she treasures them. And I feel like that's what you run into with these very popular franchises that people hold dear to themselves and in some cases make it their personality. So the
Right.
moment they hear that you are remaking it, doing something new to it, like, there is always going to be this subtle hatred, subtle angst for the fact that why are we doing this? Why are you potentially going to ruin something I really like? But I just don't see it. Just let people be people, and if this gets a new era of kids into Harry Potter, then cool. I imagine the
Yeah,
Harry Potter people will love that.
yeah. Keep selling. I mean, hey, we've seen Pokemon not attack. Sorry, uh,
No, they have. Yeah.
influence how many generations just by revamping and revamping and revamping and adding different things. Well,
Yeah.
sorry, adding generations to Pokemon, and so I don't know if that's what we do with Harry Potter, and it becomes a you know 40-year, 50-year series. Who knows?
Yeah.
And then the last thing that I have is kind of just some, I don't know if you call it feel good news, but Blueprints is taking the world by storm.
Yeah.
It is officially past Split Fiction as currently the highest rated Metacritic game this year as of right now. It's 92. Uh has a 92 score on Metacritic, and I'm saying this, and this could be a transition to games we played this week because I did not play this game. My wife is playing it. I see it, but I'm just kind of happy that a what you would consider a rogue puzzle like or a puzzle rogue like is having so much success. Uh, people are if you look at all of the reviews, people are saying nothing but wonderful things about it. I was looking at a review that essentially said, "Don't look up anything about it. Don't look up any guides. Don't even read the end of this review. Just go play it." And it's just kind of nice to see for something like that, for that to be executed that way.
Yeah, we can absolutely transition it into games. Heads up, nothing new came out for me. So I just played the same old games I've been playing. But yeah, Blueprints is definitely it's nice to see something on the equivalent of Balatro, I would put it. Balatro did, I think, and will have more of a mainstream because the rules of Texas Hold'em are already something that a lot of people know, and you put it in a card game and people like it. It's really I really like the social aspect that Blueprints is bringing to gaming. Like, it is a roguelike puzzle thing where you could happen to run into a puzzle that you've never seen before, but your friend did. So you ask your friend for help. And it's kind of like this really cool social thing that you
Right.
can do. Like, games don't usually have people bringing out their notebooks and, like,
Right.
this is how this ties to this, and I just think that's just something so much fun. I remember as a kid having a piece of paper trying to solve a puzzle on my own, but because roguelike was never a thing, you just ask someone who solved the same puzzle how they did it and you get the answer. Now
Right.
you're starting to get the social aspect of people who have notebooks about how this puzzle leads to this puzzle and could lead to this one and gives you the this puzzle gives you the answer to this. Like, it's kind of like a deeper into the well sort of analogy
Mhm.
where you just kind of find yourself, but instead of going into the well by yourself, everyone who's also playing blueprints, kind of a play on words here.
Right.
And you're all going into the deeper into the well with each other, and you're
Right.
finding out more together. And I almost feel like there is a thrill in finding out puzzles on your own, but there's also a thrill in being able to help out your friends figure it out, and your friends
Yeah.
helping you out too on it.
Oh, most definitely. And it's such a simple concept. It's a large mansion. You just have to get to the 46th room. That's all you have to do.
Yeah.
But you only have a certain amount of footsteps, certain rooms, and this is I'm basing it off of what my wife's explained to me. Certain rooms take away the amount of footsteps that you have if you go through that room. So there's a way you have to try to navigate. And then there's in addition, there's puzzles, there's all this type of stuff. There's only been a notebook out for 2 reasons during a video game in this house, and one was the Lorelei and the Laser Eyes, and the other one was this. So, it's just kinda great to see the traction that it's getting. We usually expect games like this, to have some big, character driven, insane action scenes or something going on. But I'm going to be interested to see where Blueprints lands when we go to the Game Awards this year and other type of award ceremonies besides that, joystick awards, all that stuff. So,
Yeah, well,
uh,
we'll have to see how it ends up going. Yeah, because like games for me this week, I've just been playing a little bit of South of Midnight. I did get Star Wars Outlaws on sale, but I haven't started it yet.
hmm,
So I have probably eventually will, but other than that, I really haven't been playing anything new. I know we have Expedition 33 coming out soon, which will definitely be on my radar.
super
But
excited.
did you play? What have you been playing?
I've been trying to chip away and finish Kazan. First Berserker, and I've been doing South of Midnight. So I've been flipping back and forth. Anytime I get too frustrated at Kazan, I go to South of Midnight, which is
It's probably a good.
complete
Yeah,
palate cleanser
no
because you
kidding.
and I both know that that is not a challenging game. But holy crap, that story is great. I'm chapter 10 just to kind of give you an idea where I'm at.
Yeah.
So it doesn't look like I have too much long until I'm done with the story, but I almost kind of want to don't not be because of who they're introducing and just the character development and everything like that, and it's just well done. So
Yeah, I've been wanting to kind of get into First Berserker Kazan, but with my backlog, I've been kind of forced, and with how we talk about gaming now, even earlier in the podcast, I need to wait for a sale almost if I'm not too sure about a game. I just can't be buying Star Wars Outlaws at $70. I gotta wait for it to go on sale before I'm willing to spend that money on it, just because gaming is such an expensive hobby at this point.
right. I think Craig or I, whoever finishes first, we could just lend it to you so you don't have to worry about buying it. And even if you're having a backlog, I don't think Craig or I are going to want to play that game for
Right.
a while when we're done. I was talking to him. I texted him the other day because I'll just give you this warning about First Berserker
Yeah.
because I'm 70 to 80% in the game. It's you get to a point where there's the levels you feel so overpowered for with the enemies you're fighting because you have to train so hard to beat a lot of the bosses in the game, rework your gear, level up a little bit, maybe find some of the other nuances in First Berserker. But they're not kidding with some of these boss fights. They put out a patch and nerfed a couple, and
Yeah.
still people are talking about. There's a couple that are standouts that I think one of them was one Craig and I talked about a couple of weeks ago. But just make sure you're prepared whenever you do decide to play that game.
Yeah.
That it's not balanced between level and bosses. I'm below it's I texted Craig 10-minute levels, 10-hour bosses is
Yeah.
essentially the experience sometimes. So, but when you do win, there is that gratifying
Yeah.
it still feels freaking great. So,
Yeah, no kidding. Part of
but
the
yeah,
reason
so oh, go ahead,
Yeah, I
go
was
ahead.
gonna say part of the reason I didn't actually play any new games is because I watched the Devil May Cry anime series. I finished that up, and that's kind of reinvigorated my want to play these types of games. For a little history, I don't have a lot of history with Devil May Cry, but Craig, the other Craig, went ahead and recommended me this game. I borrowed it from him for when he was using what a GameFly. I beat that game in 2 days. I like
Yes.
I marathon Devil May Cry. It's one of those things where I have Devil May Cry to kind of thank for the fact that I got into Bayonetta and I love Bayonetta. I really wish we had more of these stylistic action games, to be honest. Watching the Devil May Cry anime, and I'll talk about it here a bit more in a second, but it's reinvigorated my want for something that's just a bit more responsive and something that's a little bit more fun and wacky. We just don't see enough of that anymore. You know, Hi-Fi Rush was probably the closest thing I've gotten to that in a while,
Right.
and that's even a rhythm based, style action, action fighting game. So it's even a little bit difficult to get into the flow of that thing if you're having trouble with tempo and learning rhythms. But, what did you watch? What are the things you got into?
I finished The Pit, and I'm assuming we'll probably wait till like a couple of episodes in to talk about Last of Us because that first episode came out. So I essentially for me was finishing The Pit,
Yeah.
that show.
Yeah, so we have The Pit, and I'll talk about Devil May Cry. So the Devil May Cry anime is definitely, I am not as versed in early Devil May Cry. After finishing 5, I was all about trying to get into more of these games. The thing is with the Devil May Cry games is that they play old and they feel old. So it's
Yeah, they
something
do.
where if five's your first, it is really hard to tell you to go back and play one, two, three, or
Mhm.
DMC. So it's one of those things where I have a very hard time telling people, and I talked to this with a friend at work recently, is I can't tell you to go to 5 as much as, or sorry, I can't tell you to go to the other 4 because as
Right.
much as it is cool to have a basis of the story is what's going on, you're going to play those games and especially if you're into more modern gaming, nuances, responsiveness, like and all of the other things that modern games can give you now, Devil May Cry has aged poorly. Like that is there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And I can say the same for Bayonetta as well. Bayonetta isn't to the extent of Devil May Cry, but the anime itself, for me, while I don't have the same background knowledge, I just had fun with it. I do think they did a fantastic job picking out the music. We had
Yes.
like, especially for some, I didn't watch it in Japanese, I watched it, in dub. The songs they pick are just fun. Like, you can
Right.
tell, like, this is the people who took care of this and picked the music were almost raised in that 2000s, late 90s alternative Buck Cherry, Fred Durst, Limp Bizkit, and things like that. It is kind of fun to watch, and while I know super hardcore fans are really critical of this anime series, I don't know. I think it's fun. It's nice to see something where, Dante is this fun, very personable guy who doesn't know about his past and is kind of figuring out as the season goes along. I think it's animated wonderfully. There is some kind of questionable CGI in some parts, but when you're in a fighting anime, CGI tends to be the cheaper route to go instead
Right.
of trying to do cell by cell. And it's got a lot of action. I think it keeps a lot of fun moving. I don't think you'd get bored in this series. And the ending is just this it is it's funny cuz it's almost satire of the American way. Um in the final episode. So take that for what you will. I won't spoil it, but if you're somebody who, makes jokes about capitalism in America, you're going to get the joke when they do it for the most part. I
Okay.
didn't know much about Lady, uh,
Yeah.
but she's cool. Like I will admit, and even my roommate said this as well. Like cursing doesn't make you cool.
Right.
She does deliver some good one-liners, but every other word in her mouth is an f bomb, is a b bomb, is all of this other stuff. So I kind of can't say to watch this with your kids, but
Do Does it spoil to ask this question? Do they have Virgil in it?
he does make an appearance. So it is one of those things where they are teasing Virgil in the second season. They talk about Dante and Virgil's growing up. Uh portion of things, so you will get that, and then you will get also teased to like, oh wait, that's Virgil. Like you know who that is, but you're not supposed to know if you've never seen Devil May Cry. So
Right.
it's one of those things where if you're a fan of the series, you'll get it, you'll understand it, you'll get to see some things before they come up. But the reveal of him is very cool. I think people will enjoy that, and it's not. I'm hoping we get to see a second season out of this. I think it's a cool enough series where you can have fun with this and really do something fun with it.
I'm glad you had I'm glad for a couple of reasons. I'm glad that you had fun with the series. I'm glad you started with 5 in terms of the modern time that you would be able to play it. I completely understand why it's hard to go back because you're right. Devil May Cry did not age well in the way it's still with its nuances and its general that'll always be Devil May Cry, but the playing it and all that is kind of hard to do nowadays. But it's just you're right. We don't have enough of that. I think that's why all of us were inclined or wanted to at least try Bayonetta because it's Devil May Cry. Like it was
Yeah,
modern Devil May Cry, and they should be developing more games like that. That arcadey doesn't take itself seriously, over the top style. I don't know. It just works, and there's a huge fan base that has followed Devil May Cry over the years as a result. So I think I forget which one they say. Like I think 5 is like a master class regardless. It
yeah,
nails
yeah,
everything. So I know 2 is argued as one of the worst ones because they added another character and like there was not as warm of a reception because Dante wasn't like the only person in it anyway. But I'm glad you like the series. Um The Pit, everybody should watch. I just don't know how else to say it. Even if you're not a medical drama type of person, this is a day in the life. Yes, a day in the life of doctors, medical students. There's like 3 or 4 medical students. It's their first day. The way they tie in the stories, the patients, the care, um, and the interpersonal workings of the employees there is fantastic. There's moments where you're going to want to cry. There's moments that you're laughing. There's moments you're fearing for one or more characters' lives, depending. There's just a bunch of different things going on. And I think, like I said last week, taking 24 hour, like the 24 show formula, putting it in a medical drama, what I'm wondering is longevity. Can they do that
yeah.
season 2? Can they do that season 3? Um, they can basically do that what they want after the execution here, but everybody hits their acting parts. There's no real point to get bored. There's no real point to look away from the television. There's just so much going on, and it's I, I think what did Craig say? He said you're gonna have to pry this from his fingertips in terms of top 5 television
Yeah,
show of the year at
yeah,
least. I don't know how this leaves mine either. Um, I love that it's the people who did ER. They changed it up and they still did another medical drama correctly, and everybody acted their behinds off. It's really truly just a fantastic show, and I think the last time I talked about it, I only had like 5 or 6 episodes left to watch. Holy crap. I felt like I was watching 2 different shows and how I was blown away. So, I recommend it. If you have Max, get on it. That's going to be a good series if they can continue this momentum. So,
yeah. Keep in mind with Max people, there also is The Last of Us season 2. We won't be talking about
yes.
it. The nature of, I feel like we should probably split it up into two, with the big event in the beginning of Last of Us 2 and then the end event. So I I want to see how we're gonna approach it. We'll talk about it internally and see how we want to do it. Just because I don't want to accidentally spoil something for
Right.
people who are just watching the TV series.
Right.
So just keep that in mind. We'll probably split it up and talk about it at certain points. But other than that, like The Pit, I have been told to watch. My only thing is, and it's funny, I'm not a person that gets super queasy when it comes to blood and guts, but when it's realistic, that's when it's kind of like a little bit of I don't know if I'm going to be able to watch this kind of deal. So, it's kind of when certain series can break the reality aspect of things where I don't mind blood and guts, but when it comes to like the pit where it's more realistic,
Right.
it's something where it's like, "Oh, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to get into this just because like, I'm gonna get queasy,
Yeah.
thinking about it."
Yeah, there's a couple of moments for me where I'm like, "Oh, wow." But I don't know. You definitely have a point there. My suggestion would be just maybe just turn the head or put the hands over the eyes at those moments because you definitely don't want to miss. I'm not saying you are, but it's definitely worth those queasy moments for the rest of the series and the impact
Yeah.
that it has. And you love everybody in that show, even the people you
Nice.
hate. So
Awesome. Well, to the people we love with our podcast, we're going to go ahead and end it there. We thank you for sticking with us. While one of our Craigs isn't here, we filled out the time and we got into some deep topics.
we did.
I'm interested to see what Craig has to say when he comes back next week.
Yeah.
Uh just so everyone is aware, as we are kind of going through some shifting patterns when it comes to scheduling, the podcast may be out later in the week, maybe out early. I kind of almost don't want to even stick to a schedule. When I drop something, I will make sure that it is out on platforms, but recording is going to become a little bit of a thing where it's a fluid situation for when people are able to come and go and record. So you may get both Craigs, you may get one Craig. I usually need to be here so that we can save the podcast and edit it. So you
Yeah.
usually have me no matter what. But for everybody who watches, I hope you're able to just kind of keep up with everything that we're going to be doing here with our podcast. We've always appreciated the support, and we don't want to stop recording. We really do like doing this.
Hmm.
So it's just a matter of finding what works for us in general, and also making sure that hopefully you guys get something out of it, whether it's funny,
Right.
informative, whether it's opinionated. Hopefully there's something you get. So just be a little patient with us as we figure out the scheduling for the next couple weeks here, and we'll see how it goes. But I'm going to drop stuff and I will announce it on our social media platforms as well.
Hmm.
If you are on your podcast listening platform of choice, please make sure to leave a review, leave a like, leave a star rating if that's what they have you do. If you are watching on YouTube, please make sure to like and subscribe. Comment below. I'd love to hear what people's opinions are about like how they feel about gaming right now as we shift into a more expensive route, especially for what the next generation might hold when it comes to how much it could cost. It just feels like corporations are taking advantage of the gamer at this point, and it was only really a matter of time before they did. So,
Right. Right.
we'll see how everyone's doing. We'll all make it out of this alive, and we will see you guys next time. Have a good week, happy Easter, and enjoy the rest of your week, guys. Bye.
Bye, guys.
And for Craig, see ya.
Sorry, y'all.